This morning, today, we are going to talk about my voiceover pricing strategy in hopes to share with you some. Let me turn the ventilation on here. Oh, there we go. There we go. To help you in that what sometimes can feel like murky waters of voiceover pricing is probably one of the most frequently asked questions that I receive. So, let's see. Mallory trying to call me again. She keeps forgetting I have a live stream at 8:30. There we go. So that's what we're going to talk about today. But first of all, I want to ask you, let me just say this. First of all, before I get into the content for today, my apologies for yesterday. Um, I hardly slept night before last, and it felt like I was coming down like with the flu or maybe even COVID. And so yesterday was pretty rough. So that's why I didn't show up yesterday. But and I don't feel 100% today, but I don't feel quite as bad. So I'm guessing it's something different. I don't. This time of year, who knows? And we live in a petri dish, with our three grandkids, and because, of course, they're all in school, and my son-in-law teaches in a junior high school, so it's probably a net positive. I'm probably gaining strong immunity as a result. But boy, sometimes it's not so fun. So here's a scenario for you. I want you to imagine, if you will, that many of the big box stores, some of which you depend on, like Walmart, Target, Meyer, throw in whoever you want, got together. They got together and said, let's decide on a price that we want, but so as not to hurt each other, because we want to make sure that we're all getting as much as we can. We decide the prices on our products, and we will all stick to the same price for the good of each other. Anybody, do you know what that would be called in the corporate world? What that's called? Anyone? Just throw it up in the live chat. It's called collusion, price fixing. It's illegal. Why? Because it takes away. I mean, the whole thing about the free market is that it's competitive, and it was designed to be that way. It creates innovation. It forces companies to think, to run more lean, more efficient. It works for everybody all the way around. Plus, it gives us as the consumers, good prices, so we can decide the best value for us. And by the way, the cheapest is not always the best value, as you know. You get what you pay for, but sometimes it's worth paying a little extra, maybe for the convenience, maybe proximity, maybe the service that goes along with it. There could be a number of things, but in the corporate world, that's not allowed. But if you listen carefully to a lot of voiceover, I don't know if I want to call them thought leaders, we'll just say louder voices, who really encourage, strong arm, intimidate others into abiding by their rules of pricing, that's okay. Now, technically, the government only cares about the bigger entities that do that kind of thing. You're not going to get arrested if you collude with other voiceover talent to hold the same prices under the guise of making sure that that we get the most money that we possibly can. That's not the way the free market system works, and it's a good thing for you. So now let me share with you my voiceover pricing strategy, which began the very day that I began recording voiceovers. All right, so you have a better understanding of. And by the way, I'm not telling you to charge don't let anybody tell you what you should charge for something. And by the way, also this whole idea of uh, charge what you're worth. You're worth what somebody's willing to pay you. In the end, yeah, your value is what somebody's willing to pay you. You can say, "Hey, I'm worth $1 million," but if nobody's willing to pay you $1 million, I'm sorry, but you're not worth $1 million. And by the way, your value can change from one client to the next. You may hold more value to this client than to this client for different reasons. So there are a number of different factors that go into it. So my story. So when I first got involved in voiceover, what I did was I determined what I needed to survive, the number that I needed to survive. And I was, at that time, my kids all lived at home, mortgage, cars, family, the whole thing. I needed to survive $200 a week. That comes out to $50,000 a year for those following along at home, if you count in a 2-week vacation. So I needed $200 a day. That's what I needed. $200 a day, $1,000 a week. If I'm working 50 weeks a year, $50,000 a year. So How do I get that 200? Well, frankly, I didn't care. I didn't care. I didn't care if that meant 20 $10 jobs, and there's not a lot of at that point, there weren't a lot of $10 jobs. There were some very, very small local radio stations, which, by the way, you'd be lucky to get those because most stations just use their built-in staff. They're not paying them anything extra. So to get those was, could be a pretty big deal. But it could have been 20 $10 jobs a day, or it could have been one $200 job a day, two $100. I don't care. I did not care. My initial objective was survival. So what happened was through a lot of work, a lot of persistence, a daily grind and long hours, which I loved, it was an exciting new venture for me. I was able to make average $200 a day in relatively short order and then go beyond that. And what happened was I filled my day. So imagine your work over day as a basket. My initial goal was to fill that basket full and make at least $200. Didn't care how I did it. Didn't care. As long as it was legal and ethical, I didn't care how I did it. I didn't care what the job was. Speaking in terms of the pay, I didn't care as long as I could make $200. But here's what happened. I eventually filled my day. I was just slammed wall to wall, as you can imagine, because, I wasn't always getting the best rates for what I did. But now here's what happens, and this is what is beautiful, again, in a free market economy, is you can change your pricing anytime you want to whatever you want it to be. So once there was demand, and by the way, supply and demand is what runs the economy. That's what determines things, supply and demand, not what you conjure up in your head. It's the realities of the marketplace. There's people who have stuff and there's people who want stuff. And depending on how many want it and how much they want it and what's available, that's going to determine pricing. I don't care whether it's gas or a loaf of bread. It's always worked that way. It always will work that way. So once there was demand, larger demand for my product, which there was over a time, product being voiceover, and my day was filled, what I began doing is I started getting clients that were willing to pay me more. I increased my value, and through my marketing, I found the people who were willing to pay me more. I began to let go of my lesser pay clients. And that's how I grew my voiceover business. As new, larger work started coming in, I started letting go of the smaller work, and so on and so forth, until I grew my income, to multiple six figures. That's the way that I did it. And that's what you can, people hate the word, a lot of people, capitalism has become a bad word. Capitalism is free will in an economy. If you're against free will, now here's the problem with free will. Along with free will, you've got to, if you want free will in anything, you got to take the bad with the good. Because when we have the ability to make our own choices, some people will use that for the good. Some people will use that for the bad. So the question is, would you rather have somebody else dictate that to you? Or do you want to be making those decisions? Well, I know I want to be making those decisions. I want to grow my business the way I want to. And I don't want somebody else telling me how I need to do that. And don't let somebody else tell you what you need to charge. Charge what you want. Now, I would encourage you to be smart about it. Remember the law of supply and demand. Keep in mind you're only worth what somebody's willing to pay you, but also know that different people will be willing to pay you different prices based on their needs and what they're going to get out of that exchange with you. That's a lot, isn't it? A lot to take in. But I think the main thing to carry with you from this is that strategy. Fill the basket, fill your day up with as much as you can. And then as you begin to get bigger, better clients, which you will with experience and through your marketing, you can easily, very professionally and politely let go of your lower paid clients as you take on larger clients and you begin the climb upward, as opposed to trying to artificially inflate your prices to meet somebody else's expectation, which is really only there to help them. Do you think they really care? What happens to you? The people who are shouting all this stuff, they're trying to protect themselves. So that's the deal on pricing. Again, in my few days here, I want to make sure I share things that hopefully will help you a lot. And I think getting this pricing strategy right, and by sharing with you what I do, and again, it's your business. You do what you want to do. It's none of my business what you do, but I'm sharing with you the strategies that I've used and have found helpful and that are based in sound business practices and principles. And hopefully you'll take from that what you need and what you can use to help build your voiceover business. I know it's not necessarily a popular opinion within the voiceover establishment, but it's unless, and I have the advantage of having a background both practically and academically in business. And so, having an understanding of how this thing works has been of some help to me. So hopefully by sharing these thoughts, these ideas, and these concepts with you, it's been of some help to you as well. All right. Sarah says, good to see you this morning. Sarah, it is good to be here. Thank you so much. Checking in from Franklin, Tennessee this morning. All right. It's a beautiful area down there. John, what's happening in Denver? We got Joe checking in from the UK. Oh, thank you, Joe. He says, happy Wednesday, and thanks for all the huddles, the tips, the tricks, the advice. You are appreciated. Joe, thank you. Cheers. Appreciate that. Nephi in Knoxville. Phil, we will miss you. Phil, I appreciate that. I know you've been a long time participant here in the voiceover huddle, as many of you guys have been, and I appreciate you so much. Marla says, good morning from Texas. Ron says, good morning from our side of the pond, Grand Haven, Michigan. All right, Ron, hope you're having a good day. Eddie wanted to say thank you for giving a man who has had a very rough 10 years that a dream I once thought impossible to achieve is not quite so impossible after all. Thank you, Bill. Well, Eddie, thanks for saying that. And I just hope the years that are ahead are better than the last decade that you've experienced. And hang in there. This voiceover, I've been around long enough and I've worked with enough people to know that it is achievable by anybody who wants to achieve it. And I want to encourage you to hang in there. Meryl, good morning to you in northern New Jersey. GS, what's up in Longview? Theo says good morning from the kitchen table in lovely Palos Hills. Coffee brewing, huddling, the day about to get into gear. Let's do this. Absolutely, Theo. I love it. Kirk, good morning from Greenville, South Carolina. Mark says greetings from cold and snowy Montreal. Vince from cloudy Palm Bay, Florida. Terry from Falston, Maryland. Great to have you back. Thank you, Terry. Good to be here. Zach says good morning from Fargo. Jolie, happy Wednesday in No Snow, Minnesota. All right. Hey, Becky, showing up from the Mitten. I added, I think, a T at the end there, AKA Michigan. Or as somebody else put it earlier, the other side of the pond, meaning Lake Michigan. Denise, what's up in Long Island? Jason, good morning to you in Kearney, Nebraska. Grateful to be here with you during your last week. Thank you, Jason. Marlene, good morning to you and all from Fresno, California. Wow, we still can. Yeah. Hey, Tim, good morning to you in Altoona, Pennsylvania. Professor Tracy, good to see you in Rochester, Minnesota. John and Rhinebeck. Kathleen in Evanston, Wyoming. Aaron in Linden, Washington. Robert from Elkson Park, Pennsylvania. I have listened to you for years and have benefited greatly. Thank you. My best to you and your family in the future. Thanks, Robert. I sure appreciate that. Good morning from sunny but chilly Atlanta. You'll be missed. Thanks for all the great VO advice. Well, thank you very much. Hey, Dory, hello to you in Maryland. Brandon, good morning to you in chilly Portland, Oregon. David checking in from Hamilton, Ontario. We've got Mary. Good morning, Mary in New Jersey. Corey in Whitehall, Wisconsin. Andrew in Devon, from Devon in the UK, saying have a great day. You too, Andrew. Thank you. Spencer in Houston. Let's see here. Aaron, your encouragement and motivation coaching me through just life the past year and a half, through the past year and a half, never mind voiceover, has been invaluable. Aaron, thank you. I'm so glad you found it helpful. And I'm glad you found it helpful outside of voiceover as well. The stuff that I share, I think are concepts that reach far beyond voiceover. I think a lot of them are really principles that work generally in life. And so I'm glad you found them so helpful. Thanks, Aaron. Yeah, price fixing. Jolie, yes, that's another, yes. Price fixing, yeah. Collusion, price fixing, all that same crazy illegal stuff. Jim in Memphis. Denise, I do contracts by day. Price fix, I do contracts by day. Johnny Stoffel, what's up in Florida, Johnny? Rusty and UP. I'm assuming you're not the John Stoffel. Not Stossel, not Stoffel. Thinking of the news guy. I'm getting my names confused here. Rusty, what's up in Michigan? Gregory, good morning to you in far north Dallas. Somewhat pleasant. Nancy in South Dakota. Mary in Lisle, Illinois. Thank you for sharing your wisdom with us. Enjoy your extra time. Thank you, Mary. Joy says, good morning from partly sunny Southfield, Michigan. Beth, good morning to you. Brian, good morning to you in Lancaster, Ohio, my hometown. Finally, we are warming up after our recent negative temps. I was just on the phone with my mom the other day, who she moved out of Lancaster a couple years ago to go live with my sister, who lives down in southeastern Ohio, but it's talking about how brutal it was up there. Sounds like y'all got it worse than we did here in the Chicago area. Aaron, good morning to you in sunny Villa in Puerto Vallarta. Puerto Vallarta. Still checking in with my VO crew while on vacay. Fantastic, Aaron. John, good morning to you in Memphis. Starting to get warmer finally. Thanks for what you do. Thank you. Matt says, Bill, you make loads of sense. Best to start in Fiverr, etc. Oops, the stream moved on me. Let me back up here. Bump, bump, bump. Oh my goodness, the stream kills me sometimes. There we go. Okay, Bill, you make loads of sense. Best to start in Fiverr and build, build, build. There you go. Hey, Becky, thanks for sharing your wisdom. This is so much better than so-called advice. I have learned so much more than VO from you. Appreciate you, Bill. Oh, Becky, I appreciate you. Thank you so much. Andrew in Latvia. Brandon, sound business practices. Yeah, I think so. Hey, Igor in St. Petersburg, Russia. Good to see you. Rob, what's up? It's a great day in Loveland, and I am worth the rates that I charge. Thanks, Bill, for the great lesson. Thank you, Rob. Lucius, how are you doing? Kathy, really appreciate your help. Let's see, North Carolina. When is your last day? It's Friday, which, by the way, is that for those of you who have questions and you've posted your questions, bring those back on Friday. That'll be my last day. And yeah, I almost said looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to be on, but not looking, gonna miss you guys. That's for sure. A beautiful afternoon to you from Nigeria. Good to have you here today. Wally, hanging on every word. Thanks, Bill. Glad you're feeling better. Thank you, Wally. Joyce says, Bill, thank you so much for expounding further on the subject of VO rates. I'm going to miss you after this week. Well, Joy, I'm going to miss you and all you guys as well, but thank you very much. I appreciate the kind remarks and you being here every day. Andrew, is there a way to get... okay, yeah, that's... bring that in on Friday. Bring your questions in on Friday, and I'll take time to answer as many of those as I can. Jeff, good morning to you guys from Roswell, New Mexico. Appreciate your hard work. Thanks, Jeff. Brian, it varies by project, right? Yeah, that's the way I treat it. I mean, I have a rate sheet, and my rate sheet is only meant as it's a place to begin a conversation. So, for instance, if I'm doing... okay, let me try to make this as simple as I can. Let's say a Fortune 500 company comes to me with a couple of minutes, several minutes, maybe it's 3 minutes, maybe it's 5 minutes, I don't know, of a corporate narration, not training, but a corporate narration. And perhaps from that client, I can get $500 or $600, maybe, not even always, but maybe. But if you're a smaller business, maybe a regional or a local business, it's highly unlikely you're going to pay me that much for a couple of minutes of narration. So it might be half that. It might be less than that. So you really have to keep into account, it's really... a rate card's a good place to begin a conversation, but I think you need some flexibility. At least that's the way I approach it. Johnny Stoffel said, I go by Johnny partly to stop confusing the Stossel crowd. Yes. I thought maybe you were John Stossel, like just trying to go under a pseudonym, Johnny Stoffel, which would be a terrible pseudonym because it'd be a dead giveaway. Good morning, Atlanta. Thanks for introducing us to a successful voiceover. Hold on, my daughter keeps calling me. Hey, I'm on the live stream. Can I call you back in a few?
Oh, yes, that's fine.
Okay, thanks. Bye.
Goodbye.
All right, sorry about that. Let's see here. Brian says it's cold in Overland Park, Kansas City. Brian is he's looking forward to marketing, and more marketing. Last day, Brian, is Friday. Lucia says, thank you for all the help already. You're very welcome. Well, guys, that's it. Have a wonderful day. Remember, don't get sucked into a lot of these online conversations. I'm not saying there's nothing useful out there. I hope you don't ever interpret what I'm saying is that this is the only place of true, advice. That's not what I'm trying to say. Well, but what I am trying to say is this idea of price fixing is huge in voiceover. They'll never call it that, but that's essentially what it is. And it's not a good thing because it hurts you in the end, especially if you're newer. It hurts you. So, Just be careful. Be careful. Have a great one. We'll see you tomorrow morning.